Chrome is going to keep cookies after all. This doesn't surprise me. I've been covering this for almost 7 years. I have a clip here from August 22nd, 2020.
Poison antidote. I can see where the poison is going to take this industry because it's going to be harder to do programmatic advertising, which is basically tuned and personalized to your audience.
On one touch point, which came to be true, is we're in the era of the post-cookie removal.
Could there be an era where there is nothing that replaces third-party cookies? Perhaps, because browsers and advertising companies are all going to have to work together in how they anonymize this data.
Phase, cookies are not going to die, but consent is going to kill cookies. All right, so this is going to be a massive change in terms of policy, because Google has really had its feet put to the fire because of privacy and different institutions, different countries that are trying to basically give the rights to the consumer. So Google was going to go ahead and neuter its browser by not accepting those cookies, but and they said this would really jeopardize their business model. This would really harm their partners, such as Media, in terms of being able to run effective advertising. And just imagine how much of an actual impact that would have on their business if they couldn't advertise to their customers. This would probably be huge, right? We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars in yearly ad revenue that's being generated by Google Ads platform, just gone, right? So that doesn't really benefit anyone because you still need to get the word out there. Now, when we look at this from what's next, well, cookies are just the beginning of the story. People are waking up to it. Cookie consent policies are already in place, and you have to abide by them because, there is some things that are going to happen. We don't really know everything because it's a legal framework, okay? The lawyers have to figure this out.
And the ad features are just going to drop off. Facebook just removed 1,000 ad features for lack of use. And the window of using these features is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's likely going to get harder and harder and harder for small businesses and other SMBs to really be successful online.
So that's shocking news that Google is keeping cookies. There's other browsers that I mentioned in that video you can take a look at. A lot of us, like myself included, have been living in a post-cookie world. We're not really consuming these cookies anymore as much. And you know what? Even our customers are starting to feel the effects of not having a full picture on their sales and marketing. I would say most of our clients in America are losing about 1 in 5 website visitors. And I would say in Europe, our clients, they're losing probably closer to like 1 in 3. So cookie consent is really this mischievous little policy. It's almost just a double tap effect. First you got the cookie banners, now you have to make sure you're abiding by the cookie consent policy. And you know what? It almost makes sense that some browsers are just going to have automation that handles the consent on that to consent none by default. You don't need a human to interact with a widget like that, which is something I see a lot more players have moved in. Open AI is actually something that you would consider to be a player to have its own search engine, a player to have its own phone. So you may see other things. Meta just went out and said they're not going to offer the full extent of their models here in the EU because the EU has AI framework, which could be a good thing or could be a bad thing, but it's certainly a neutral thing in terms of there won't be any innovation on the AI side of things because AI also requires energy. Energy is expensive. And that's going to add a whole new degree of complexity because who really needs cookies when you have a robot that's just working on your behalf as a little virtual assistant. And eventually we're going to start doing analytics, what our little AI agents, what our little AI bots are going to do, which is going to be pretty interesting. That's really been the new stepping stone, is where you're going to start seeing more of these agent accounts, these user accounts, where you're going to plug in a profile into your network somewhere, whether it's in your Google or in your Microsoft, and these little agents are effectively going to be power users that handle a lot of what you do in an organization. They can also be personal. You can think of it as IFTT and Zapier and things like that. You made these automations already. Well, we're using Zapier to even automate more data processing and things like that, because it's really lean. We're already paying so much to use these tools, and they're paying off for us. So keep that in mind. I think the AI agents are definitely going to become a new little wrinkle, because I guess this is turning into more of a discussion of, does that policy impact a human, or does that policy impact my AI? And if that policy impacts my AI, what are the ramifications of it being a third-party cloud AI that's owned by an open AI versus a first-party AI that you can run on your Mac? And you're going to start seeing video cards shipping more software, particularly NVIDIA already does. You can go in there and play with it and build these huge networks. So that's the new development in terms of where we're shifting to. But I'm looking at these AI analytics and how you can really just build a meaningful representation of the data you're trying to pull out of your performance or whatever your stated business questions are, because that's what we're talking about here. If you can state a business question and explain how you get to a desired set of statements, outcomes, questions, more questions, it's really easy to tap that into your systems now, especially if you're using high value systems like Intercom or Salesforce. A lot of these high value companies are doing pretty good there. So I hope you found this video insightful. Really look into this cookie thing, because it's going to impact your business so much more this year, that you're going to have a huge rude awakening if you're not really working on your cookie consent policy, and just maybe be more like Google. Fight back against cookie consent. If you think it's something that doesn't really make sense, especially if you're in one of those states in America which have already adopted it, you should just go ahead and try to push back and roll it back, because to some degree it doesn't really impact you. And I had a pretty good insight. And it's been reinforced since the IT thing that happened, is we really overthink security. So your WordPress website can get hacked. Of course it can get hacked. 61% of Americans have had their data leaked online onto the dark web. You don't think 100% of something that we had a password to 20 years ago hasn't leaked on the internet? Of course it has. So that's why you have to have good password policy. You have to take care of your passwords and be thoughtful in what you're doing, because this is you're leaking. And that's where AI also can come into play, to see where you're leaking and help you scrub it and cleaner footprints online, so nothing malicious can happen towards your identity. Well, I hope you found this video insightful. I'll talk to you later.